So I am Amanda Thompson. I'm a math teacher and technology integrationist at East Central Schools. And I went through the GoGuardian Teacher Certified Educator process this past summer as a way to just bring GoGuardian to East Central High School, as I figured we were going to be looking at distance learning in the fall here and what GoGuardian could do to help us with that. And so what my plan for today is to just talk about some of the features that are available for our learning environments right now, whether that be in person or hybrid or distance learning, kind of focusing on those second two and how GoGuardian can help us. And I'm just going to go through that super fast so that we can spend a lot of time asking questions and chatting about how GoGuardian has worked for us or how we would like it to work for us and make this time meaningful for you. So first, what GoGuardian is, it's marketed as a classroom management tool. So when we're in the face-to-face model, it's a really useful tool for creating a digital learning environment for students. So that's where a lot of like the scenes come into play, where you can create restrictions so that students can't access certain things during your class period, or so that they're forced to access certain things during your class period. So that's what GoGuardian originally was kind of created for. But now that we're looking at hybrid learning and distance learning, it's kind of morphed into a communication tool that can be used at a distance. So you can kind of monitor what your students are doing, you can chat with them, send them announcements, and connect with them from a distance, which is super nice. So some of the GoGuardian features are being able to see what your students can see on their Chromebooks or devices. And then there's teacher commands where you can open a tab, take snapshots, you can lock the screens. I find the opening the tab kind of helpful during distance learning because I can send students to a particular website if they're having a hard time accessing it at home. And then teacher chat is super helpful right now. So this is an active session. This is a screenshot of one of my advisory sessions, and then I just kind of took out the names. So usually you would see the student names right here so you can see who is accessing what. So at this moment in time, all of my advisory students were online, so you can see something for all of them. One is on YouTube down here. I can see that she's watching YouTube. She's got all of her work done, so while she's distance learning, if she's taking a break to watch YouTube, that's totally okay. This student right here has YouTube on in the background. They're probably listening to music or something while they're working on their author's journal. So it kind of gives you an insight into what students are seeing. This is also helpful for tutoring right now. Earlier today, I just had a student that couldn't open an assignment, and I could watch on GoGuardian what was happening as she was trying to open it. And we were able to chat back and forth in GoGuardian and get her to open the assignment, which was super helpful. And we chatted by turning on that chat feature. And I'll share more about that in a second. So from that screen, if I click on a student, it pops up this screen. So again, I hid the name, but when I click on that student, I can open a tab for them. So if I wanted them to go on a specific website, I can click on that open a tab. During distance learning, I haven't been doing locking devices or excluding students a whole lot, but during the classroom face-to-face learning, that was something that I would do. So I would lock devices when I was giving instruction or something and I wanted students to be hands-off. I just kind of encouraged hands-off by locking devices. And I would exclude students if they were at home that day instead of in the classroom, or maybe they were working in a study hall or something instead of my classroom, a resource room instead of my classroom. I would exclude them at that time too. The screenshot is kind of nice. It saves it. So if there's something where you're like, oh, I'm not sure if they should be looking at that, like maybe they're, looking up answers or something, you can take a screenshot of it and save it in your GoGuardian and share it with other teachers. It's also kind of nice just to have for helping students too. So you can take a screenshot and then you can write on the screenshot like this right here is where you should be trying to access this assignment. Click this button. And then over here, you can close tabs and chat with this one student that way too. When you turn on GoGuardian chat, it pops up kind of off to the side on the teacher end, and then it has each of your students' names. But again, I hid those. And there's two things you can do from here. So this bullhorn over here, this icon creates an announcement that goes out to everyone that's in this GoGuardian classroom. So this has been really helpful for distance learning because they'll create an announcement and send it out to everyone in the morning. This is what you need to be working on today. And just let them know that I'm available on GoGuardian chat if they have questions too. And so then when they open up their Chromebook, they get a little pop-up that says, this is what you should be doing today. And so that's kind of helpful. And then you can also chat individually with students from here too by clicking on their names and writing a message to them. One thing that I haven't tried so much in distance learning because it's one way, but I did do this in the classroom when we were hybrid, and it worked out really nice, is that there's also a presenting option. So what this does is it shares your screen, your camera, your microphone, whichever ones of those you choose with these on and off toggles here, with the students. So again, this is one way though. So I can share myself with the students, but then they can't share back with me. So then you'd have to have like GoGuardian chat on or something. But this worked really well when we were in the classroom because I shared my screen with them. And one of the options when you share your screen is you can lock them from accessing other websites. So if I had like some Google Slides or something I wanted them to look at, but I didn't want them to look at anything else, I could present to the class and share my screen, and then they would be stuck on that kind of with GoGuardian on just my screen. I could see this having a place in distance learning too if I wanted to just connect with a student that I'm having a hard time reaching other ways. Like maybe I could turn on my camera and just say, you know, hi, how are you today? I'm so glad to see you're working on GoGuardian. But again, it's just one way. So the students can't talk back to you that way. So I just haven't done a whole lot of that in distance learning. Some tips for distance learning or hybrid when we're using GoGuardian is to run your class sessions all day. That way, when students are coming in and off of their Chromebooks, you're still available and delivering instruction notes via that announcement feature, what you need to work on for that day or a task or something, turning on the chat so that students can ask questions. And then avoid using scenes. So scenes are those restrictions. So avoid using those right now where, you know, like in the classroom, I might block YouTube because we're not using YouTube as a tool. But then right now during distance learning, maybe another teacher is using YouTube as a tool and it shouldn't be blocked if that's what they are. So just having everything open during distance learning so students can do whatever they need to do. And then really using those GoGuardian sessions like office hours. So I'm available on GoGuardian chat at these times. Feel free to message me, and using them like office hours has been really helpful. And then at the end of my slide deck here, I have some resources. There's the Help Center. The teacher training guide is a PDF with getting started with GoGuardian. And then the training course has a whole bunch of little videos on how to use each of these features. So if you are interested in, oh, I want to learn more about chat, or hey, that scenes thing sounds super cool. I'd love to use that during a test to kind of restrict what my students can see during a test so they're not Googling the answers. All of that information would be in these short videos in the training course. So like I said, that I just wanted to share a whole bunch of information with you about what GoGuardian can do and what it's capable of, and then just kind of open it up for questions and answers for the rest of today's session. So I'm looking at the chat here. It's when you lock a device, it is just a button click to unlock it. You could kind of see that on which slide was it here? Where there's a lock, where that lock button is. My slide options are hiding it. Where that lock button is, once you've locked it, that changes to an unlock. So you can click right there to lock it and unlock it. And then in the classroom setting, if you click to select students, there's a lock and unlock button up here. So I can easily, just by selecting all right here, lock an entire class at one time, which I did a lot when we were face-to-face, not so much during distance learning. Other questions?
I have a few questions, more from a technical standpoint. I'm actually not a teacher. I'm the tech coordinator with our school district and trying to support staff with this and troubleshoot some issues. For example, I saw you have a student there that's waiting for activity.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that means that they don't have their Chromebook on, or it's not on the Wi-Fi or something like that.
So not quite.
Okay.
That waiting for activity means they're sitting on a new tab.
Okay.
So here's an actual class with my actual students right now. If they're not online, it says student offline.
Okay,
like
and that is my next question. So I've got some instances where the student is showing off on offline there, but the student says that they're online. They have their Chromebook open and they're using it, and they have the extensions and appropriate GoGuardian pieces installed on the Chromebook. When I've done some investigation on that, I found that there's duplicate names within the GoGuardian, or is this the case where you're seeing here that these students are obviously offline, they literally don't have their Chromebooks on, or have you come across that issue?
So I have come across this issue. I have never seen duplicate names, but that might be an onboarding thing, and I don't do our onboarding. So that might be a question for Bill with the duplicate names. What I have run into though is students where it says that they're offline and they are offline. But in the classroom, they might have their Chromebook open with like their phone in front of it or something. So teachers are assuming that they're online because their Chromebook is open, but it's really off. And then the other thing that I have seen is students borrowing another student's Chromebook, or students signing in as someone else. So if they know like their friend's login, they might use that instead of their login because they know I'm blocking things at that time.
And you mentioned onboarding, so I'm not sure what you do there. We decided to hook ours up to our student information system, and then it gets synced to Clever, and then it gets brought over so that the classes that teachers were using were the exact ones that were with your student information system. Is that how you do it there?
I am not part of the onboarding,
okay.
So I do know that.
Did you have to create your classes?
We created our classes, so we don't have like Clever or anything to bring over our classes, but our student profiles were brought over using Google accounts. But again, Bill would have more information than I would about that.
Okay.
So, you know, particularly the elementary level, we do have a number of students who, if parents are working during the day, they're not logging in until evening or weekends. So if you have a class session and it's set up kind of for school hours, and you make an announcement, if a kid doesn't log in until 6 o'clock that night, will they still see the announcement, or do you know how that works?
I don't think that they still see that announcement. I think that if they log in when your class session is happening, they see that announcement, but I don't think they see it if they log in after your class session. Okay. So that is an issue with the way that ours is set up, like for the school hours. That is something that Bill can change in the settings. So if we wanted for some reason to have it open like beyond school hours, Bill does have control over extending that if it were something we wanted to pursue during distance learning. Because you're right, there is a lot of kids that are working on schoolwork at non-traditional school times right now.
Amanda, I did see there was a question in the chat from John.
When it says waiting for an activity, can I see what they're doing? So that's just a new tab. Let me pop back over to my students here. So that's what they're just seeing a new tab, and that's what it shows up like. But when I'm looking at my students here, I can see what they're doing. So on Austin's, you can see he's doing, I don't know, some kind of Pokemon thing. And then when I click on his name, it brings it up so I can see it a little bit more clearly. And then I can see what other tabs he has open too. So he's also looking at his email and Schoology, and has a Zoom meeting going on right now too. So you can kind of see all of those things as well. So that waiting for activity was just sitting at a new tab, so there wasn't anything to see there. That student must have just logged in as I was taking my screenshot.
Amanda, could you talk a little bit about reports and how, or time, I don't even know what they're called, but how, so if I've been away from my computer, I have a class session open all day for distance learning, but I've, had a meeting or a Zoom with another class or something going on. How do I see what kids have been doing while I was not staring at my GoGuardian dashboard?
No, that's a great question. Thank you for bringing that up, because most of us aren't staring at our computers all day long, right? There's a couple of different ways you can look at it. So if I'm talking to Easton's mom, I can go into students reports and bring it up just for Easton, like over a timeline, and generate a report of what he's been looking at. So I can have a conversation, and which is super helpful during distance learning right now. Like, oh, I see that he's online, but he's spending, time on YouTube, or he's actually pretty on the ball here with his schoolwork. So maybe like he's doing awesome every time he's on his Chromebook, he's working on his schoolwork. But as far as monitoring classes, so if I look at like my advisory class here, it has all of the sessions that have ever happened, and these ones run all day for me. So maybe I wasn't on yesterday and I want to take a peek at it. What you see is a little bit different than what you see in person. So it's called this timeline here. By in person, I mean like when in the session is running. This timeline here gives you a peek at it, and it's really narrow. So each of these are a minute. So I always like to zoom out so I can see longer chunks of time. And so now you can see it's like 5-minute time frames, and then you can arrow back to see what was happening during the day. So in the afternoon, not a whole lot of kids on, but the middle of the day at that 1 o'clock hour, there were a lot on, and you can kind of see what they're doing here. And then if I wanted more details, so like this S is obviously Schoology, but this BN, I don't know what that is. If I click on it, I can see, oh, that's a virtual microscope. So that's, school related stuff, I'm sure. And so that's what you can see after the thing is running. So you don't need to have GoGuardian open on your computer to be able to access some of that information. You can just have it running in the background and check on that as well. Does that answer your question, Beth?
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Do you have a question, Renee?
I do. So I had mine open this morning, and it was only like a 45-minute session. And then I got I was on a Zoom, so I came back to it and my session ended. But I saw that there was like chat, like I had responded to my students and then some chatted back to me, but I couldn't figure out how to like see them because like the session was over.
Oh, that's a good question. So when I come back and my session is over, if I click on my speech bubble here, they still pop up for me, but like, so Gracie's gone. I can't chat back with her, but I can still see she responded with an okay to me. But they're not like stored anywhere. So once this session ends, like I don't know how to get back to them.
So you can only respond to them if they're still on?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I can't respond to Gracie right now because she's offline. And so the chat, you toggle on and off. So if I'm not at my computer, like this doesn't turn on. And if I'm going to not be able to respond, I can turn it to off so that they can't chat at me. So I would be mindful of that. But yeah, it's kind of a bummer. And it's happened to me quite a few times where I like walk away or like I take a phone call that goes up ending longer than I thought it was going to be. And I miss someone's chat like Gracie's and I can't respond. So then I'll reach out via email and say, oh, I saw you chatted at me, but I was on the phone. Here's my answer to your question. Oh yeah, so looking at the chat, I don't know of a place where it saves. I do have it set up so I get audio alerts and desktop notifications to try and help me catch those when they come, but I can dig into that a little bit more. As far as I know, Scott, about the iPads, I don't think we have iPad access right now with GoGuardian. I think it's just through Chromebooks. And I know Bill has scheduled some meetings with vendors for comparable products for the iPads for later this month and next month to be looking at that as well.
Even so, I think it has to be their school issued device because I have a kid who's not using school technology. They're using their personal technology. And luckily, it's a kid who's really on the ball and always gets his work done. So it's not a big issue. But if I just went by GoGuardian, it would show that he's never online because he's not using a school issued device.
Yes, that is absolutely correct.
I have a question, Amanda. Back to the reports, the student reports. You could zoom in so you're looking at like 5 or 6 minutes. Is that the extent of zooming in, or is there anything else that kind of summarizes what they've been on all day instead of having to look, for 8 hours worth of 5 minutes increments?
So there is, and I set it up for a summary. You can choose in your settings if you want it emailed or not, and I get it emailed. So like here's yesterday's hour 5 session. Just for a quick glance, it's telling me what websites were visited, who was on for the longest, who was on for the least amount of time. So just kind of a class summary that way. So there is that email of it. Otherwise, yeah, if you want like more detailed information than that, it is just the timeline or looking at individual students.
Okay, thank you.
So looking at the chat, it looks like someone says you can reply to offline students. So that's good to know. I haven't tried either. I wonder if it would pop up after the session has ended on their end still, because GoGuardian wouldn't be running. I'll have to play around with that. I like to experiment on Audrey's Chromebook with Audrey at home during the day when I'm trying these things out, so I can see exactly what's happening on the student end. And then Steve, the GoGuardian Google Meet issue, I had never heard of that before someone mentioned it this morning. So obviously I'm running GoGuardian and Google Meet at the same time right now, and it didn't crash on me. I don't run Google Meets a whole lot, but it's never happened to me. So I'm not sure what's going on with that issue. I don't know. Other questions?
Can you put the slide
Amanda, where do you go?
Sorry, can you put the
Sorry.
slide back up that has the shortened link to the slides?
My wait time.
Amanda, like Renee said earlier, her 45-minute session ended. Where do you go to
Well,
just set that to all day?
As you think of things, feel free to reach out. I'm always available, or like I said, there's that, and John just shared it in the chat. Thanks, John. There's the bit.ly with these resources, so that you can look at that teacher training guide or just kind of see some of the screenshots as what's going on.
Ganoa, you had a question for Amanda.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can. Amanda, can you hear Ganoa? Well, that's odd.
Huh.
Amanda, we have a question from Ganoa, but I don't think for some reason you can't seem to hear her.
I cannot. No, I can hear you just fine.
Awesome.
John,
can
can you just ask her for me? Renee
I
had
can hear
mentioned
you now.
earlier. Oh, you can hear me now? That's weird.
Yeah.
Renee had mentioned a 45-minute session earlier. How do you set it to all day? Where do you go to do that?
Okay, so I think I stopped sharing my screen because I was having issues here. You go to the scheduling to do that. Popping my screen back up. I think my computer's like, you're done for the day. It's decided. So in your classes, and you can import them from Google Classroom too, which will save you some time on the setup. But in your classes, when you are looking at the settings, you can go to Edit Class. And in the scheduling tab, then you can set it up. So mine just run all day, or you can have it like a morning session and an afternoon session if you wanted to, and kind of break it up that way.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions that I might have missed when I was frozen there or whatever happened?
Looks like people are good, Amanda. Well done. Thank you very much. Folks, thanks for joining us today. Do look, keep your eye on your email as we move along. We'll be adding more. We do have one more coming up next 2 weeks, roughly, is our next one. So thank you very much. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Amanda.
you.
Hey, Amanda, can I ask you one more thing?
Sure.
Not related to GoGuardian.
Go ahead.
Because you're probably more tech-minded than I am. I'm struggling with internet at home, and I have Verizon, and I have a hotspot. I thought I was aware of and thought my plan was like at the highest amount of data that I can get. But I've maxed out my hotspot data. Now I'm close to maxing out the data on my phone as a hotspot. I haven't heard anybody else having any issues. Have you? Do you have any advice there?
Oof, I don't know. I don't know too many people that use hotspots as their primary source working from home.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you have any insight on that one, John?
I was going to say, have you contacted your your digital navigator?
That would be Tom Guffian.
Okay. I'll
And
try
he may
that.
be able to help you do that. But if you give me your address, I can probably plop it in somewhere and see what else you have as an option.
Okay. I'll check with him quick too. I'm in Pine City, so I know some of the people in Pine City use HughesNet, and I've heard that it's not really any less expensive than Verizon, or it's about the same.
Yeah, and
So-
they have some real latency problems with satellite.
No, yeah.
Where in Pine City are you?
Down towards Rock Creek.
Okay. So hold on a second. I'm going to grab a resource here. Where is it? I had it open earlier, but it'll take me just a second and I will pull it up. Okay. No, this is the one that I want. I think. No, I got the right one. Okay. So I put the link in the chat.
Okay. Broadband map. Got it.
Yeah. So if you open that up, you'll be able to put your address in, and that will give you a list of people who say they can provide you service.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, you can go to one of those people, put your address in there, and see what they have to offer. I don't guarantee that you'll have anything. And I know there's some spots around Pine County that are really underserved. We are experimenting with, it's a SpaceX satellite, low Earth orbit satellite option. We ordered the equipment. It's due to arrive next week.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to give it a try at Jenny's house because it is address specific. It's kind of a bizarre deal. I don't really know how it's going to work, but we're going to find out. But it is satellite, but it's low Earth orbit satellite, and they're claiming it's just fantastic and blah blah blah. So,
Okay.
I don't know that it'll be commercially available soon, but it may be coming. But do check that map and see and ask your digital navigator for a little help.
Okay.
To look through the rest of the resources, and if you think there's stuff there but you can't get connected to somebody, give us a call.
Okay.
And we'll do what we can do.
All right. Cool. Thank you for the
All right.
help.
No worries.
All right. Talk to you later.
You bet. Thank you, Amanda. That was fantastic. Everything I always expect from you. You just always are super.
Well, I hope that was useful to people, and I hope this is helpful, like these little PD sessions. It's super nice to connect with people right now, so I appreciate it.
Yep, I think it's going to be good. Like I say, we are planning on to help with mental health, because I think that's proving to be a bigger problem than people realize.
And burnout.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.